Hey, welcome to Audiotopsy with Tom V and Kenny C. We got a good one for you this week. We're going to be doing Van Halen, Love Walks In. But hey, before that, just a little disclaimer for those of you who are still trying to get your head around what we're doing here. We are not recommending or endorsing any of these albums, artists, bands, their lifestyles. What we are trying to do is get people who already like this music, already listen to it. Hey, that's my favorite band, to click on here and have a good discussion about the lyrical content, to just get people thinking about interacting with their music. Tom?
Hey, it's good to be back. I hope everybody had some good meals and some good family time this week. Uh, Vicki Joy, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this song. This was your pick, and I think everybody's going to have a little bit of fun here. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to go. Van Halen. This when I was 11 years old, I got the Van Halen 1984 tape for my 11th birthday. My mom's best friend Shirley got it for me.
Wow.
And I remember even then at a young age, I'm like, I don't, because the cover had this little angel boy like smoking on it. And it was like, this is kind of risque, I knew that this was not good, right? But it snuck through because of mom's friend Shirley got it for me. And that's where I just started really listening to heavier type of music. And of course, back then it was kind of poppy, right? It was all over, the top 40, and especially the songs, from this album. But anyway, we're not talking about, we're talking about another era of Van Halen. But why? I guess. Well, I want to hear from Kenny. But why did you pick this song? Is the question I want to ask.
Well, so I have a place in my heart for Van Halen because not only is it nostalgic to my formative years, but my brother, who played guitar, who I was very close to, loved Van Halen. It was his kind of protege. It was his hero. And so anytime I hear Van Halen on the radio, I have like a double burst of nostalgia. I have like my youth and like the 80s, but then I also think of my brother and the times where, we still lived at home and we would play guitar together and stuff like that. So, but the reason why I picked this particular song, because there's tons of other songs that are probably more popular and more rock and roll, but this song is, I think, very misunderstood by a lot of people who aren't paying attention to the lyrics, including myself. It took me a very long time to figure out what this song was really about. And it was from the lips of Sammy Hagar himself. But like, I was watching live footage and he said, this song is about aliens. And I'm like, what? No, it's not. I mean, the word alien is in the song, but I just thought it was poetic. I thought, hey, Love Walks In. It's this pretty little synthesizer based tune. It's a love song about, I completely missed it. And so there's some really interesting stuff that we're going to be reading where Sammy, no holds barred, says exactly what this song is about. And it just kind of plays in with a lot of the stuff that we talk about over on the Through the Black channel and in my book. And I thought it would be something different.
It caught me off guard too. And I guess I'm looking at this song differently now.
Yeah, definitely. Kenny, what are your thoughts as a guitarist regarding Van Halen?
Well, for me, this album was the transition to Hagar being the lead singer. This is the 5150 album. So after Tom's talking about 1984, which I have stories for that one too. That one, I remember buying that with my own money, mowing the grass at a church and buying that at a Kmart. I remember it because it was 1983 when it came out. The 84 album. So, but 5150 was the big change, man, because you bring in, and we brought in Hagar, and honestly, it starts an era of more pop type songs. I mean, they were still rocking, but their song structure started to change a little bit. He started to really settle in on this is a very standard chord progression. The song itself, which makes it interesting because it's kind of like a 1-6 minor 4-5. It's a very standard, almost 50s love song that he's playing with certain types of stuff. So I love that's it's a simple song in terms of that, but the lyrical content I never knew until I read an article in Guitar Magazine, where one of the guitar player magazines, where Hagar but basically just let it out, was like, this is about an abduction, this is about stuff, and it's about him. He's really doing this. I wonder, I would love to have been at the thing when they're writing this song and they're like, hey, we wrote this great love song, and Eddie's got the keys and Hagar's thinking, I'm going to put this lyric about me being abducted by aliens, and let's see what people think of this. I don't think most people know that at all.
No, it completely,
it's
I think it slipped under the radar for a couple reasons. First of all, because it does just sound so much like a love song. It's so melodic. But Hagar is just one of those like rock stars that's like so down to earth. He's the guy that you'd like run into at a Walmart and like talk about fertilizer with. Like, I mean, he's just this normal guy. Whereas you get a rock star like, say, Ace Frehley, who starts talking about the UFOs that land on his lawn, which he does talk about. And then you associate with him, you know, all the kiss ears and the makeup and the weirdness and the drugs. Right. And so he sort of gets written off as crazy. But then Sammy Hagar says basically the same thing. And it's almost like it goes completely unnoticed by the masses.
Yeah, Hagar probably
Sammy Hagar is just like somebody could be in your family, like a cousin or something like that.
Yeah.
You see at, you know, some kind of a family reunion or a graduation party or something like that.
I wish Sammy Hagar was my uncle. That's all I'm gonna say. I could get free passes and hanging out.
You know,
myself in. Hey, let's jam.
I was actually listening to Sammy Hagar before he joined Van Halen.
Yeah, I did
and
too.
He had an album where he had the song "Where Eagles Fly" or something like that. I had that tape. Yeah. And listened to it, and then I found out that he joined Van Halen, and I was such a big Van Halen fan because I had that 1984 tape. I probably would have rejected it because you know I just was, you know, I was like, no, David Lee Roth is the guy. And of course, guys, keep in mind, I always feel weird having these conversations because it looks like, you know, we're reveling in this stuff or something. We're just being honest and telling the story, you know. Over the weekend, I was hanging out with family members, and they were telling me about stuff. You know, I was finding out stuff that they were doing back in their party days and things like that, and concerts that they were doing and things like this. And I was never really a partier, but music was definitely a part of my youth. So I had that Sammy Hagar album. And that's kind of what opened the door for me to, you know, be okay with him being in Van Halen. I was like, oh, dude, I thought it was over. And I listened to the David Lee Roth solo albums like Skyscraper and Crazy from the Heat, stuff like that. But when he came in and 5150 was put out, you know, the music was so good. It was a lot more musical than it was with David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth is more of a, you know, a front man and loving attention, things like that. And for some people that don't know, the way that Sammy Hagar got into the group is he had the same auto mechanic as Eddie Van Halen did. And I think maybe they both had Ferraris or something like that. And that's how they met, was through their auto mechanic. They were dropping off their cars, right, to the auto mechanic. But he said he had a feeling that he was going to end up being in Van Halen just because there was nobody else to do it. So
yeah, I had such severe doubts because it was announced obviously before 5150 came out that Hagar was the new singer. And you know, this was the peak of metal, and I was just like, you know, Sammy Hagar, like we were saying, he doesn't have the persona of a rock star. He's got short hair, you know, and it was just like, what? And all I knew at that point was I Can't Drive 55, and he was kind of goofy. And, you know, the Van Halen brothers, they take their craft very seriously. And I thought, how is this going to work, man? But
I thought it was going to be kind of like really gimmicky or very like a novelty almost.
Yeah. I severely had my doubts, and then got 5150, and from the very first "Hello, baby," and I mean, it
Yeah.
just started strong, and
Mhm.
very poppy. Why can't this be love? Very poppy, and so it was nothing like I expected, but he really surprised me. He won me over right away, and um, I know that Roth is entertaining, and he does all his high kicks and his samurai sword play and everything. Like I can't deny that he is a showman, but I just really enjoyed the Van Hagar era a lot.
This kind
Yeah.
of made me think of a story that's kind of weird. It was about 15 years ago. I somehow knew this person, okay, through my connections in music, because for anybody who doesn't know, I used to have a record label a long time ago and used to be involved in promoting bands and concerts. Really, it was on, in the Christian areas. But there was this person, I don't want to say who it is, but they had claimed that they were the love child of David Lee Roth, and their last name was even Roth. And I was like, oh wow, that's kind of crazy. I actually know this person, and this is the child of David Lee Roth. I didn't know that. That's kind of interesting. And then it turned out that they were faking the whole thing, and that they had photoshopped these pictures and things like this, and the whole
Wow.
thing was a hoax. But I was like, anyway, kind
Shame
of,
on you, Kenny.
yeah.
Wow, it's terrible. I'm sorry. Hey, I was going to tell you that me and Tom have a similar story. We were both getting our Hyundais worked on, and that's how we met.
Yeah,
And that's how I got asked to be on Audiotopsy.
That's
yeah.
right.
True story, folks.
That's amazing. Well, let's get into the
Yeah,
song.
good stuff.
So here we go.
Wow.
Yeah, hello. There's a lot there. I mean, the very first word, contact, is that the name of the Jodie Foster movie? Or wait, no.
Yeah, that is
It's yeah. And what's
yeah, that's
funny,
good.
Tom, is that's one of the lyrics that I always heard wrong. So I didn't even know he was saying contact. I thought he was saying like come take. So I always had it in my head that like some girl was taken away from him, but then this new love walked in. Like, I had it all construed in my head as, he's finding a new, now the real love of my life came in. And it was all based on the fact that I never understood that he was even saying contact there.
Yeah. I mean, once you know what Sammy Hagar's talking about, it's totally different. This is a song that you hear in a grocery store and you don't think about it. You know what I'm saying? You're
Right.
just like, okay, I'm going to get some macaroni and cheese. I'm going to get some veggies. I'm going to get, and it's playing in the background. But yeah, here it is. Okay. Anyway, Kenny.
I honestly, as like I said, now that I've actually listened to the song, I can't not see it this way. It's a constant. The lyrics now. I'm just like, this is a total abduction story, man. There's nothing love story about this. It's crazy. But I will say this: the music in itself, it conveys a very standard love song's progression. The song goes into that when it goes into the the C chord, and then you make a change. It goes right to that bright, happy, and then you make a change. He does these little things, and then it goes 4, 5, 1. That is the most it is one of the most classic chord progressions of all time, and it really invokes an old 50s, 60s love songs were 6 minor 4, 5. I think I'm cutting up a little bit. Am I breaking up some for you guys?
A little bit, but you're okay for the most part.
Okay. But yeah, it's like I said, it's just really the lyrical content doesn't strike people as much as just this happy melody. It feels like love. But then you read the lyrics and you're like, I'm not sure if, probing is love. That's weird.
Yeah. Well, contact, asleep or awake. Yeah. I mean, he's describing an experience here.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to say something too. I know Van Halen fans know this, but we always just assume that most of these rock stars just don't know anything about music or theory, and they're just playing by ear and they're just banging away. Right. But Eddie was very classically trained in the piano as a child, and his father was a musician. They were originally from the Netherlands, and they came over as young boys to America, had to learn English. And they, by they, I mean his brother, Alex, the older brother, who's the drummer, they were both classically trained. Their parents' kind of dream was that one of their sons would grow up to be a famous classical pianist. And so the keyboards, were in the 80s. Like you could put synthesizers in songs and stuff. And I just think that Van Halen was one of like the best keyboardists by way of integrating it into rock music in a way where it could still be heavy. Obviously, Jump is the most iconic little 80s keyboard riff.
Absolutely.
I just want everybody to know, like, this isn't just some, dude that sat around smoking pot and grabbed a guitar and, figured stuff out. Like he actually knew what he was doing and he knew songwriting. And there's a lot of rock stars out there that they can put riffs together but like it's much different to actually have an ability to write a song, and he had the ability to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I want to go back to the lyrics real quick. I think listening to that says let me read it so I can get it right. It says contact is all it takes to change your life or lose your place in time. To me, it sounds like he's talking about lost time, which a lot of abductees talk about. Like, they wake up and they didn't realize that they've been gone for so long, or it seemed like they had been gone for a long time, but it was only, just like a minute. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like he's writing from experience, like something happened to him. And I don't know for sure. Of course, that's his claim, but it makes you wonder, was this experience like your classic alien abduction type of taken out of the home, the stuff that L.A. Marzulli talks about? Or, I think there's another kind where it's a spiritual type of thing, where people, they're made to think that this experience has happened to them. So
yeah,
interesting.
And I think he kind of alludes to that too when he says asleep or awake, because in these altered states of consciousness, there's like two kinds of abduction stories. You hear the ones where people have it during sleep paralysis. They wake up in their room and they don't quite know if they're awake or asleep, and there's a bright light. It's usually the window. But then you've got people that talk about they're driving down the road and they see something in the sky and then there's missing time. And so there is this aspect of abduction where it can happen asleep or awake.
Yeah. Let's get back into it and see what happens next. And then you sense a change, nothing feels the same. All your dreams are strange. Love comes walking in, some kind of alien. It's for the opening, simply pulls a string. Whoa, mind blown. Mind blown. I'm not going to be able to go grocery shopping the same anymore after this. What do you say to that? I mean,
there's so much in that. There's so much in that. Like, waits for an opening. We talk in, churchianity, we talk about opening doors, opening spiritual doors, waits for the opening. They're waiting for that invitation. But then this pulls a string thing. I don't know what he was thinking, but with astral projection type of things, there's the whole concept of the silver cord. And that comes into play, I think, a little bit later too. He talks about something about silver, and green and silver are very much associated with the astral realm, with green being the realm itself and the aura there, and the silver being the silver cord. And I'll save some of that for when it comes up again. But the pulls a string, that's a thing. When I was a kid and I would listen to this song, there was something in my head at that point that would say, what does pulling a string have to do with it? Like, it did stand out to me as an odd line.
Well, I think the oddest thing in this whole song is when it says love comes walking in.
Yeah.
Because what is he talking about here?
Yeah, that's
because that's the thing that throws the whole song off. That's the only thing that's out of place.
Exactly.
But maybe listening to this
unless
you're like, that makes everything else out of place.
Now he doesn't say anything like that the experience was terrifying or evil. So he may be saying that the abduction process to him was he felt love, that this was stuff. So there's a whole nother aspect there when he could have been having this experience, but instead of it being terrifying, he was like, he felt love, which was a whole nother on this whole thing.
I agree with you. And, Tom and I, we were talking on I think it was the demonic energy episode over on Through the Black Channel, like last week, about Reiki, where this whole phrase that we get, like sending you love and light, because we can't tell people we pray for them anymore. That's offensive. So
I do.
So do I. But this whole sending love and light is really this new age astral. It's the whole angels disguising themselves as angels of light. Like they can affect our dopamine. A lot of people come back from these experiences saying that they'd never felt anything that pleasurable or that loving, or they never felt that kind of peace or all the, and so I do think that these things do have an ability to influence our emotions. And then in the beginning, in the first verse, when he talks about, then you sense a change. And a lot of people that have had these experiences, they are never the same again. And a lot of times what changes is their whole worldview and the way they interpret spirituality. And many times that's not a biblical change.
Hey, yeah, sorry. Somebody is disturbing me. If I don't respond, then they won't quit.
It's probably Sammy Hagar.
It's probably.
So, yeah, folks.
How dare you say I'm not
real time.
Why couldn't you do a song like rock?
Vic, I was going to say the same thing that you said, and I go back to that quote. Emanating from energies are.
Oops, there we go.
No, emanating from energies are. Emanating from entities are energies to entice emotion. So people that are feeling, whatever the energy is, whatever the feeling is, it's not a bad feeling. I mean, if the aliens, if the ghost, if whoever came in and frightened people, then it would be easy to get people saved, right? And reach them, because all of these entities would be scaring people away. But that's not the case. They're having a good feeling. So yeah, I agree with that, Vic.
Yeah, anyway. It's almost strangely like a cosmic version of Stockholm syndrome, because if you read online, there's people that talk about, oh, I have this spirit guide and I go to the astral and there's all these wonderful experiences and they're like a boyfriend to me and a lover and everything's great. So if you go online, you're going to get the PR that talks about how great everything is. But if you really talk to people who have given the opening that they're waiting for and they experience these things, the people that write to me are telling me, yeah, it was great at first. And it always turns sinister. And even if it's 10 years, even if it's 2 days, whatever, it depends on what they need and want you for, what their agenda is, how useful you are to them. They can string you along for a very long time, but everyone I've ever talked to who has sought these experiences out, eventually it goes bad. And when it goes bad, it goes bad. And so, but then it becomes this Stockholm syndrome, because I'm going to put up with all this paranormal stuff. I'm going to put up with the red glowing eyes in my bedroom and the growling and the night terrors, because I'm now addicted to this experience. And so it's almost like this Stockholm syndrome. Like, no, they love me. Love walks in. Love walked in. But meanwhile, they're being tormented in all these other areas. And, you know, they get you on the hook.
Vic, I was just telling the story when L.A. Marzulli was on about when I was at this little conference thing down in Columbus, and this woman was asking a question to this panel saying, why did this happen to me? And she was talking about an alien abduction experience. She had a horrible experience, and they were all trying to make it sound like it was a good thing. Like, well, you were chosen, you were picked, you're special, all this stuff. And she wasn't having any of it. She was not happy. Anyway, very good. Very good. Let's get back into the song.
All right.
So, Love Walks In by Van Halen, written by Sammy Hagar. Here we go.
Oh gosh!
Wow! So, okay, guys, I want to hear in the comments, what do you guys think about this song, and have you ever noticed the lyrics? That's what I want to know. I feel like we really kind of shocked a lot of people here today with this song. I didn't pay attention. And this kind of goes back to that whole thing, like, oh, I'm just in it for the beat, or I just like the music, that's true. We don't pay attention to what the things are about. And I know that there are lots of examples of things that I could show people, that I've shown people before. Like, do you know what you're listening to? Do you know what this is about? I had not a clue what this song was about. Anyway, Kenny, can you kind of elaborate on that? Just the style of the song. It sounds like a love song. The way this
it
is
does.
Really tricky.
It honestly something.
The song had different lyrics.
It may. I wonder this also too. In the actual process of writing this stuff, is that what was Sammy into new agey type stuff? Was he already trying to do like astral projection on his own, that he was doing, opening up stuff that became where this song came from, that he'd already maybe been messing with stuff? Because I think about books I've read with like what's one, the second coming of the new age, Josh Peck and Stephen Bancarz, where they talk a lot about where they were heavily in it and actively doing astral projection, and talking about how they realized they were doing stuff that at the time they didn't realize how bad it was. They were messing with it. And that as they became Christians, they learned more and more and realized they were messing with was demonic. And see, I wonder if Sammy had, being a music scene, probably, drinking a little tequila, doing a little bit of stuff, he might have been, they don't know, playing around. The time period makes sense, man. He could have been, playing around with some stuff, thinking about astral projection, which could tie into this. I mean, you think about this one here, he's actually making, when he talks about there she stands in a silken gown, silver light shining down, like he's seeing this beautiful creature that's talking to him. He also makes a comment, familiar faces and familiar sights, like he's seeing people he knows. So there's a whole lot of trickery kind of stuff going on. You don't know. He's, he doesn't sound like a terrible experience, but you don't know what his thought process was for it. So it's interesting.
Yeah, when you put these lyrics to the backdrop of like an astral experience or a even like a upside down Stranger Things kind of a thing, it is another world, it's some other time, but there's all these familiar faces because it's like this as above, so below recreation, right? These worlds. And so I want to talk a little bit about the silver lights shining down. Obviously, it's probably, the light coming from the UFO, but this word silver, it's such a tip off for astral realm. And there are so many movies and books that are blatant theosophical metaphors for astral projection and the astral realm, and we miss it and the colors are often what gives it away. The greatest example is Baum's Wizard of Oz, and I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about his book, The Wizard of Oz, was one book in a 14-book series for children. Yeah. And Baum was married to a feminist. His wife and his mother-in-law, which heavily influenced him, were very much into astral projection. They held seances in their home. And there's 3 things about his book color-wise that give you an indication as to what's going on.
Where's he from? Do you know?
I did know. I thought it was the East Coast, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, for some reason I want to say it was from New York, and if that's true, that plays into the stuff that we talked about recently.
Okay.
Anyway,
I
could be wrong. I don't know. Go ahead, Vic.
Yeah, I don't either. So anyway, you've got especially in the books, Oz was green. Everything was green. And the way he said it was that everyone was wearing green colored glasses. But when Dorothy actually asked Oz about why does everyone wear these green tinted glasses, he says, basically, they don't need to. Everything here is green. And everybody's just so used to wearing the glasses that they just assume the glasses are tinting everything green. But everything here is green. And in the book, sorry to blast your paradigm, people, but in the book, the ruby red slippers are not red. They're silver. And that's the silver cord. So you'll notice in the movie that Dorothy doesn't access the land of Oz. What happens right before she gets to Oz? They fall asleep in a poppy field. These are opioids. This is sedatives. This is an altered state of consciousness. She could not have reached Oz if she had not been in the opioid field. And so then she's able to see it with her silver shoes on. And even the yellow brick road that is in a spiral Fibonacci sequence pattern, it's the golden path. It's the golden path to enlightenment. And so all of this is there. And so whenever I see things like this, that's blatantly talking about an alien abduction, you're talking to entities that are not of this spiritual plane. And then you've got silver lights and reaching for an opening. She reached for an opening and then simply pulls a string. It's so blatantly astral, but if you don't know, you just misconstrue it as this really beautiful melodic love song.
So a lot of thought went into the writing of the lyrics of this song. And now I'm wondering, are there any other songs that reference aliens or other worlds or silver lights?
Well, Tom, I was going to say, you and I, Tom, what was that Queensryche song that we talked about one time ages ago?
Yes, Silent Lucidity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
They have a lot
of show on that, by the way, or no? We didn't do an audiotopsy. We did another. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Cool. Hey, I will tell you a song that if you want that gets into this whole thing with astral projection is it's a country song and it's by Sturgill Simpson, and the song is called "Turtles All the Way Down," and it sounds like a good old country 70s outlaw song, but the lyrics in it talk about taking DMT and these alien creatures, reptilian creatures made of light pulling stuff out of his body. And it's sung in this little country song, and you're listening to it, and you're like, I remember the first time I heard it because I'd read books on DMT and stuff, and I was like, wow, he is going deep, and it's in a country, so they're not paying attention to it, man. He's just like, he's singing it, and he's, I was like, this is tripping me out, man. It's a great song, but man, that would be a good one to do sometime too. But it's very much on the same thing. They're talking astral projection, a lot of crazy stuff. So
interesting. Yep. Sturgill Simpson. Katie,
Sturgill
let's come back into the song.
Mm-hmm.
This is more than an alien abduction song. This is a religion.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
There's so much here, man. And one thing I want to point out, and people are going to be like, yeah, it's a stretch, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, but to my master, I've become a slave. I don't think Sammy Hagar had this in mind or even has knowledge of this, but the placement of that word master, I thought this was a beautiful woman in a silken gown that you loved. Now it's who's this master all of a sudden? What's interesting to me about that is master, if you go all the way back in the etymology of that word and you take it into other languages and you go all the way back to like ancient Canaanite and whatever, the word for master is Baal or Baal. And when they named all their false gods, which we learn from the New Testament, false gods are demons. These idols are actually inhabited by demons. They many times had the word Baal in the name of their god, or like Baal Zebul or whatever, or they just called him like the way we call God. All their gods would just be Baal, but what they were literally saying is master. It was their master.
I really like the line right before that, because he says, sleep and dream, that's all I crave, which to me sounds like he's purposefully going into this place because he likes it. Mm-hmm. He's thinking, oh, I'm going to go, and he's astral projecting to this other thing. So we don't know if it's an abduction or if he's consciously making this stuff happen, because he sounds like he loves it. He's enjoying what's going on with this. It doesn't sound like it's a frightening thing. But then he says, to my master, I become a slave. And so,
Well, and I think a lot of times too, Kenny, what happens is it begins with an abduction for some people, and that opens the door and that gives them a taste, and then they begin exploring spirituality, and then it becomes a thing where they are craving it and they are chasing after it. But the initial thing was, it was brought to them. They weren't going there initially.
Yeah. And I also wonder too, if this stuff, if he's not crossing different ideas, that it's not completely coherent, because it could be an abduction, it could be an astral projection, but then also too, it could be something he's thinking in a reincarnation kind of thing, that he's thinking to a different time period, like I'm with people that I've been with before, because he even says silence speaks loudest where earth returns to what it was before. So what's he talking about there? Is he experiencing something he thinks he's experienced before? There's a whole lot of stuff going on in this song that you can, maybe I'm just going to call up Sammy and get it from him.
That's right.
Let's just bring Sammy on Audiotopsy. Let's just, let's do that. I think he'd do it too.
It Absolutely. Seems like he is talking a little bit about the alien gospel there. Like there's going to be a return, that, there's this whole belief system that, the aliens seeded us here, and that, that the main players, like, whoever they might be in history, all of the demigods, what they would consider, that are the leaders. They're the aliens, or they're the leaders. And, people would call them ascended masters. Obviously,
Sure.
they think Jesus was.
Right. And you get a
there's
lot
going to
of
be a
people
return to that.
That time period. You think back to then, this was the mid 80s, but your 70s stuff, you're getting a lot of people like Elizabeth Clare Prophet, who are all kind of throwing in this reincarnation, Jesus stuff, ascended masters. I even some of my early things that I learned about the Book of Enoch was through some books she had, which was amazing to me, because I'd read them, and then as I went on through them, I went, something's not right here. There's something not jiving on this. They're putting their own take on it, trying to shift it into this more ascended masters and all that. But,
Yeah. And speaking of Jesus as the ascended master, through the theosophy lenses, this galactic Jesus, Sonata, they call him. He is also called in theosophy Master Jesus. Master Jesus is Sonata, the galactic Jesus. And so here again, we have that term that the God of this astral realm is the master, the ascended master.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
Wow. Yeah. Again, I'm just, talk about blasting your paradigm. Mine has been blasted today. So when we were teenagers, there was this artist that we love, a Christian artist his name was Ken Tamplin. And he was in a band called Shout. I love the band Shout. I love Ken Tamplin. He was an amazing guitarist, amazing vocalist. He was like trained opera. You know who he is? Kenny?
I do. He has his own vocal academy. He does a lot of training for you. So great singer. Great guy.
We found out that Ken Tamplin is actually cousins with Sammy Hagar. And we got excited. We're like, oh, dude, this is so cool. Maybe Sammy will get saved, because Ken was a Christian. And but anyway, we were just back then looking for anything, to pray about, when it came to this stuff.
Sure.
So we have some more of the song here.
A little bit.
So here we go. Man, yeah. Interesting song. No, that's it.
No. Other than the chorus, there's only 2 lines left. It's just
that's right.
When silence speaks as loud as war, earth returns to what it was before.
Mm-hmm.
Which again really goes in with the New Golden Age Anunnaki coming back theme as well.
Well, another song that this reminds me of is the song "Come Sail Away," by Styx.
Oh yeah.
And here's a song talking about a spaceship and going away, and this is from the era of Babe and Lady and all of these like type of love songs, and then they kind of throw this in there at the end and "Come Sail Away," on board a starship, and it talks about it. It's an angel, right? So,
that's deep stuff, man.
That's crazy. If Katie can pull it up, and I might need help reading it because my screen is really small, but I want to read off the Songfacts website. There's 2 or 3 paragraphs where Sammy is actually talking first person about this song.
So, I don't know. I didn't bring my glasses, but let me see if I can blow it up here. I don't know if you can get this or not, Kenny. So, that's good. So I'll read this. It says this song deals with extraterrestrials, which can interpreted as a metaphor for new love, or as Van Halen reaching out to new fans. 5150 was the first album Van Halen released with new lead singer Sammy Hagar, and Hagar drew the lyrics from Out of the Body Experiences. In an interview with Guitar World magazine, Hagar said, "I'm a firm believer, have seen, have felt, and have contacted 3 or 4 different have been contacted 3 or 4 different times. I have received information that has been valuable in my life from those people, and they have used me." I'm going to sound like a complete nut here, but they have used me in an experimental fashion. The easiest way to put it is that they downloaded my brain information. This guy, he's talking from experience. When I was about 19 or 20, they downloaded everything. that was in my head, and I caught him doing it. I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, what's going on? They were like, oh my God, he's waking up. But this was all telepathy. There were no words being spoken. And as soon as I woke up, it was probably 3 o'clock in the morning. My whole room was so bright that I couldn't hardly keep my eyes open. I was wide awake. I could not move, eyes open, white room, and they were still disconnecting. And when they did it, it just went bang. Everything went back to normal, back to black. I was shaking. I almost passed out. I was sick to my stomach and almost had to throw up. It was so scary. It sent me on a course of curiosity. I bought a telescope and started reading UFO books, and I just got into the whole thing. And since then, there have been 3 or 4 other contacts with the same group of people. I don't know why they are. I don't know who they are, but I've narrowed them down to the people called the Nine.
The Nine. Oh,
who are called that because they're from the 9th dimension. I've named my publishing company Nine Music after them. It's a crazy thing, man. But to me, anyone who thinks we're on this, who thinks we're the only ones here, despite the vastness of the entire universe, is crazy. Those people got to be put away, not the guys having the contact. Wow.
Yeah.
Council
of Nine.
The Nine, the Ring Lords. Now
we've got to tie in with Gene Roddenberry and the Council of Nine and Star Trek. All that goes together, man. There's a lot of stuff with that.
The Ring Lords.
Yeah. Wow. That's deep.
I know. Deep. And this is like I was saying, guys, and this is a big point in my sleep paralysis book too. The whole point of, not the whole point, one of the major things that these experiences do is they transform a person. And what did he say? It was so scary. It was terrifying. I wanted to throw up. So I went out and bought a telescope and started studying all about it. My whole life became a part of this. And I named my music company after it. And it's like, why would you, but that's what happens.
Yeah.
It hooks people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
Well, and this sounds really, really crazy, and the people that have these experiences, they try to, they always make fun of them. Like there's some kind of a hillbilly, that lives out in West Virginia. No offense, Kenny. That lives, you know what I'm saying? Anyway.
Taking my see this jacket I'm wearing?
Yeah.
Wearing this.
Careful, Kenny. You're still on probation.
Lives in Kentucky. Let me put it that way. Like, how's that? Is that a little better? So
hey, you know what? I'll say this. Seriously, that aspect of stuff, I have stories. I have things I have never put out and talked about because I know that people will think I'm crazy. And I have tried to keep my sanity level pretty high because I deal with kids and stuff. But I've had stuff at some point that I think I will put out just because they're very similar type aspects. I have someone very close to my family that's had issues like that. And I'm not going to put that out without their knowledge of what's going on with it. But we've had things that are similar things. I have seen things myself as far as, what do you call it? It's a UFO. You can't explain what it is. You see things and you're just like, but when you're with people that make it valid, I'd love to know if Sammy's he's the only person seeing this stuff. My experiences were with people that were very, people that I trust and grew up with, and they all had the same experience. So we had a group type thing. That's where it gets where you're like, you really go, I know I'm not crazy because then we're all crazy. We've all gone to it. And of course, we do live in Virginia. Thanks, Tom. But, that's, I'm never going to come out with this story now because Tom Dunn said I'm a hick.
I remember when I was a kid, we were over at my aunt and uncle's house, and it was a bunch of us little kids just playing outside at night, and the adults were doing whatever they were doing. And I remember all of us looking up at the moon, and the moon seemed like it was shaking. It seemed like it was just like, it was a full moon that night.
Wow.
And I said, does anybody else see this? and everybody looked up and they're like, let's go inside. We wanted to go inside because the moon looked like it was shaking. We all stopped and we're like, what's going on? And you know, we waited and we waited. We're like, okay, are we really seeing what we're seeing? You know? And it looked like the moon was shaking like that. So we were like all inside, and we went in and tried to tell the adults, look at the moon, the moon is shaking. So yeah, I don't know. But you mentioned cool. Like a shared experience, Kenny, and made me think of that. I had totally forgotten about that.
And you know, I think about this too, man. Some people like this, like other people take it different things. Hagar has not put it into a religious aspect yet. He's still he's not saved and stuff. And so his thing came very new agey type stuff. Whereas like with us, as time went on, I realized that a lot of my experiences were not what I thought they were. That they were different, that they were either something more demonic. I've had instances with ghosts, all kinds of stuff. And now as a Christian, I look back at stuff with a much clearer viewpoint of this was not what I thought it was. And I think a lot of people are in this very hazy stage of they're not totally sure. So it turns into ancient aliens. It turns into all this other type of ascended masters and they're not solid. I feel very blessed to know that, you know, my thought process is very grounded in Jesus. And I would love to hear if any of these guys like Hagar and stuff had any experience like that. If somebody actually talked to them from a religious aspect of where this came from. So probably haven't, but.
Well, yeah, again, folks, you know, this is what we think. What do you think? Okay. What's your take on this song? And do you know of any other songs, not only by Van Halen, but, you know, we mentioned Styx, Come Sail Away. What are some other songs out there about alien abduction? I don't know. I'm kind of interested. I'm racking my brain, trying to think of something else that, yeah.
I'd say Brown Eyed Girl, Van Morrison. That song scares me.
That song scares you. Okay.
It's a love song.
Think about it. Ooh, Brown Eyed Girl. Crazy.
Oh, man.
Well, yeah, no, folks. I hope everybody has had a great week so far, and you got to spend some time with family and have a big meal. You know, Vicki Joy, Kenny, and myself, we are looking ahead down the road to March 31st and April 1st to the conference coming up. And folks, true story, before this show went live, Kenny C said he told us that he's going to be there. Is that true, Kenny?
You know what? I'm planning on it.
Yeah. It's a possible. It's not set in stone, but yeah.
I think that, I think, dude, I mean, come on, man. I'm going to be there regardless, whether I'm just there toting around Tom Dunn's luggage. I'm going to be there doing stuff, just carrying it stuff in the background.
No, I got other people for that, but
maybe I want to. Come on, you know.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, I gotta say something real quick. It is November 25th, right? Today is my birthday.
What?
Are you kidding me?
What?
Yep. We can't end the show off without you guys singing happy birthday to me. So
I guess I'm not gonna sing happy birthday to you, but when I think happy birthday, I think the song Happy Birthday by Weird Al is what I think. So I don't want to get too many copyright strikes, but go out and listen to that song in honor of Kenny.
Wow.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now I just realized, like, oh my gosh,
that's appropriate. Wow.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, hey, Kenny, happy birthday.
Absolutely.
How do you feel? Do you feel, you know, this is the question they always ask, do you feel any older?
No, you know what's really great? Last night, a couple of days ago, I was doing something with on a podcast and with Dr. Tenpenny, and she was talking about me being 50 years old or 51, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm 54. That's what I'm at. That's my birthday. I'm 54." But David Heavener and stuff said I looked like I was an 18-year-old. So I don't know what he wants from me. He made me want me to appear in his next episode of The Last Evangelist.
He's sucking up.
he starts talking about me. I was like, dude, I don't know what you want, but I don't look 18, but I'll take 40.
Oh man. If only he had known how lovely your locks were when you were 18.
Ooh, he probably has never seen those pictures.
No, the Ray Gillen shots. Oh man.
Kenny, I keep seeing pictures of you like that are popping up on social media, and I'm confused because you look similar, but your hair is long. Is that how long is your your hair's not longer than what I'm thinking it is it? Or what's
no, my hair's very short now.
So these are old videos.
These old videos are me. Yeah. No, I had the Jakey Lee hair, man. I was big. That was my hair idol, man. I had the big front, 4-foot bangs. I mean, it was the whole thing, man. But that was the time period, man. Late 80s, early 90s, dude. I kind of,
Dude, it wasn't just the time period though, because there were so many guys that would have liked to have grown their hair out like that and never could have done it.
Yeah, I will say this: the pandemic allowed me to attempt to grow my hair back out because we had no way to get haircut. So I grew it out for a little bit, and 20-year-old hair is way better than 50-year-old hair. That's all I'm gonna say, man.
Yeah,
I felt like I was growing just Brillo. Like, what is this stuff, man? Nobody wants this stuff. I cut it off. I can't do it. Tom's hair looks good. Your hair looks good on you, man. It doesn't work for me.
Well, I heard, and this explains a lot. I heard that having COVID, and I think I had it somewhere along the line once or twice in a couple different strands, it takes a toll on your hair. So I think that's why my hair is just tore up and it's getting thin. They say whatever hair pattern that your mother's father had is what you'll have. And my grandfather had very thin hair. That's the direction I'm heading. So I'm trying to hold on to everything I got.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no,
Grandpa, I'm headed for a silver crew cut.
Well, I don't think it happens to girls, but
okay.
That's not good, man.
Anyway, so yeah, you're off the hook.
Thank God.
That would be a conscious choice, not a.
Yeah, I'll just wake up one day with a crew cut. Oh man.
Hey, any last words on Van Halen or Sammy Hagar? Eddie Van Halen, rest in peace. Of course.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say R.I.P. And he was an icon. He definitely changed rock music forever.
You know, the thing I liked about Eddie Van Halen is he always looked like he was full of joy when he was playing.
Yeah.
And I know he went through some stuff, and I mean, I know he was on some junk and struggles, but he just loved, serving the people in that way. So,
he definitely, he couldn't have done anything else, man. Music was such a play. It was just, he oozed music. It was.
I keep forgetting about this. I know I've told you guys this, but I keep forgetting. When I was 14, I was in 9th grade. It was Monsters of Rock. It like 80. Anyway, they were going to be at MSP Airport. It was announced on the radio, and me and my brother went down there, and the whole band. I was right on the edge, and there was no ropes or stanchions or anything, and all 4 of them walked by, and I just happened to be at the location where Eddie walked by. He wasn't on the other side. And I just like reached out and I grabbed his shoulder, and he didn't look at me or make eye contact or anything, but he smiled. And so I did actually get within 2 feet of Eddie Van Halen one time in my life.
I remember that tour and how everybody was excited.
Yeah.
And I want to say the band Kingdom Come was on that tour.
Yes. Yep. Metallica. Scorpions.
Yeah. That was a big tour. Yeah. That was a big show.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the first Monsters of Rock? I could be wrong. I don't know.
I think so. And I missed it because I was having surgery that day.
Oh.
Stinks.
So, guys,
that was a big deal.
80s, 70s, 80s nostalgia, thoughts, memories on this music. Let us know. Guys, thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing the videos. We love getting the feedback. Tomorrow night, Pastor Sean's going to be on with the Saturday night show. And it's UFOs and the dead. So hope you check that out. Of course, Vicki Joy and I will be back on Monday, and we got some stuff lined up in the next couple of weeks. We're winding down. We're over the hump for this season, and we've got a few more weeks left, but we're going to be bringing some more interesting things in the last couple of weeks. So we'll see you guys on Monday. Don't forget Pastor Sean tomorrow night. Bye, guys.